Uh, Hello friends, I hope you all are keeping well and staying at home during this lockdown period, which has again been extended up to 3rd of May. I would like to introduce myself. I am Joydeep Phukan. I work as the Secretary of the Tea Research Association. The Tea Research Association looks after the research and advisory needs of the Indian tea industry. We have our main research headquarters at Toklai Tea Research Institute, which is at Jorhat, and we have got some other branches in North Bengal, Arunachal, Tripura, different parts of Assam, which cater to the advisory needs of the tea industry. Today's talk, which Professor Buraganhai sir has asked me to dwell, is on the tea industry, both on the global sector as well as with the Indian perspective. So before going into the depth of the global tea industry and the Indian tea industry, I would like to give you a brief perspective of how tea came into being as a beverage. So tea basically is an aromatic beverage prepared by pouring hot water over cured Camellia sinensis herbs, which is basically the main ingredients of tea. So the Camellia sinensis herb is native to southwest China, where it was discovered more than 2000 years back. The Shang dynasty of the Chinese initially discovered tea leaves, and they were using it as medicinal properties. Later on, the Tang dynasty, which ruled China from 600 to 900 AD, used it as a recreational beverage amongst people, apart from the medicinal benefits which tea has. So in the world of tea, there are two main types of tea. One is called the Camellia sinensis, which is primarily the China type of tea. It has got small tea leaves, and the height of the tea bush is much lesser compared to the Camellia sinensis assamica, which is comparatively larger, which is broadleaf, and it is almost double the height of the Chinese variety of tea. So out of these two varieties, primarily there are 4 types of tea which normally is made and which is popular in the world. First is the black tea, which is very popular. Black tea also has got 2 versions. One is the orthodox tea, which we call, which is a leafy variety. The orthodox tea is generally it is generally curled, and it has the characteristics of the whole leaf, and the CTC, which basically is the crush, tear, curl technology. Apart from black tea, there is this green tea, which is primarily used in China, Japan, and Korea, and now it is gaining prominence in India and other parts of the world. The third type of tea is oolong tea. Oolong tea generally is made from the Chinese variety of tea bushes. It's a process of manufacture, more popular in Taiwan, Korea, and even in parts of China. The fourth category of tea is the pu'er tea. I would like to spell it as P-U-E-R. Pu'er tea is made by the Chinese Yunnan variety of broadleaf tea, and which is dried and it is made into cakes, and the cakes are kept for a longer time, and tea is made out of by breaking the pieces of cake. The more the age of the cake, the higher the price and the expensive it becomes. So the spread of tea, or the movement of tea from China into other parts of the world, basically happened during the 15th century. Till the 15th century, tea was primarily dominant in China, in Japan, and in Korea. During the 14th, 15th century, when there was brisk trade happening between the European countries and the Chinese, so the European traders brought back tea into their homeland. Primarily it was the Dutch, the Portuguese to start off. Later on it was the English also which got interested in tea consumption. So the tea was made popular in Britain primarily in the 17th century at the advent of the wedding of the Catherine of Braganza, which was a Dutch princess, into the royal family of United Kingdom. So Catherine of Braganza made tea a fashionable drink in UK, and the concept of afternoon tea was introduced from her taking tea during the afternoon period. So initially when tea was consumed in Britain, it was considered as a niche segment consumption. It was thought as a luxury item, and it was an expensive drink which was not affordable by the common people. So gradually, as time passed by, things became more, the tea became more popular among the masses, and spread to other countries apart from Britain. So tea in the global scenario, it has got a lot of historical significance. The Tea Act of 1773 provoked the Boston Tea Party, which led to the throwing of tea chests into the Boston River, and this indirectly led to the beginning of the American War of Independence. The other important historical event associated with tea was the Opium Wars. So when the Britishers were buying tea from China for their own country, the Opium Wars took place during the mid 19th century, and which led to the Chinese levying huge amount of taxes for the Chinese tea to go to Britain. This prompted the Britishers to look for tea plantations or to grow tea into different areas. And in 1823, the British initiated an expedition to check whether tea can be grown in the northeast of India. So initially it was Robert Bruce who led an expedition in 1823, and he was told by Maniram Datta Barua that the Singpho tribe in Assam was consuming tea, and they used to grow tea in their own native places, which is in Upper Assam. So Robert Bruce unfortunately died early, but his work of exploration of tea was carried on by his brother Charles Alexander Bruce, and in 1835 the first commercial tea estate was set up in Assam. In 1839, the first tea company, which was known as the Assam Tea Company, was set up for tea production, and primarily these tea production was mainly for exports to England. So it was not sold anywhere in India during that time, and it was mostly for exports to England. One important thing is that along with the Britishers, Maniram Datta Borua, who was later known as Maniram Dewan, started his own tea plantations in 1842 near Jorhat. The garden which he first planted was known as Sinamara Tea Estate, which is about 3 kilometers from Jorhat. And the second estate which he planted was near Sonari in Sibsagar, known as Senglong Tea Estate. This marks an important event in the history of Assam because Maniram Dewan is known as the first indigenous Assamese tea planter in India, who dared the British to set up his own plantation, and which he did very successfully. Maniram Dewan participated in the 1857 War of Independence, and because of that he was martyred in 1858, as the Britishers did not like him getting into the tea business. This was a setback for the local indigenous tea planters who were inclined to set up tea plantations in Assam. But after a few years, there were very prominent Assamese tea planters who came forward and did set up tea plantations on their own. Some of the very prominent tea planters were Sri Rokheswar Borua, Sri Hem Borua, Rai Bahadur Jagannath Borua, Someswar Sharma, Sarvananda Borkakoti. So these were some of the pioneering tea planters from Assam who, in spite of all the odds, went ahead, cleared jungles, planted tea, and they competed with the British in the tea industry. So the production during the turn of the 19th century and the beginning of 20th century was not very high. It was around 110 million kilos. The Britishers were facing a lot of problems in the plantations, primarily because of pests and diseases which was attacking the tea plants. They initially set up a small research unit in Calcutta in 1895, which was scaled up, and a full-fledged research institute was set up at Toklai, which was known as the Toklai Experimental Station in 1911. So the farsightedness of the Britishers in setting up the research center gave dividends to them, and from a production of about 119 million kilos in 1911, the tea production went up many-fold, and by 1950s, the tea production of the country stood at around 550 to 600 million kilos, which was almost a 6-time increase over a period of 50 years. Another interesting phenomenon about the Britishers trying to bring in technology was the introduction of the CTC technology, or the CTC machine. So in 1935, the Britishers knew that they have to leave India sooner, and they initiated a research on increasing the cuppage of tea from the existing tea leaf. During 1935, it was primarily the orthodox type of tea, the leafy variety which was consumed in India, or basically which was produced in India for exports to Europe. But the Britishers thought that since the Indians would also start drinking tea, they wanted to increase the cuppage of tea, and that's how they wanted a newer type of or newer technology to be introduced. So by 1945, the Toklai Experimental Station along with Amguri Tea Company collaborated and brought out the CTC technology, which is known as the crushed tear curl technology, and it was propagated among the Indian population through the setting up of the Indian Tea Marketing Expansion Board by the Britishers in 1937. Earlier, when the orthodox tea was consumed or orthodox tea was made, per kg of orthodox tea used to give about 100 to 150 cups of tea, made tea. When CTC technology was introduced, the cuppage increased to about 400 to 500 cups per kg of tea, and it gave a brisk flavor to the cuppage. So door-to-door campaign was set up by the Indian Tea Market Expansion Board, and Indians were made to prepare how to make a good cup of tea. So the marketing campaign achieved success, and majority of the Indians started drinking tea by the 1950s. This helped the British in two ways. One was that, you see, they were reserving, or they kept their quota of orthodox tea intact for their own markets, even after India gaining independence. And the second thing is that, you see, since most of the companies were British-owned companies till the mid-60s, they gained a larger market share in India through the CTC technology. The campaign to introduce CTC was a big success, maybe 50 years back. Even now, if one sees the product mix of the teas which is produced in India, around 80 to 85% of the teas are CTC teas, which is primarily consumed within the country, and the balance 10 to 15% of the teas which are produced are orthodox tea, which are exported to UK, to European countries, to Middle East and Russia. So the Indians generally they like a strong gutty flavor of tea, and that is why the CTC suits their palate very well. So if you see the global scenario of tea, the total global production of tea is around nearly 6,000 million kilos of tea, out of which the major players are China, which produces about 2,700 million kilos of tea. India produces about 1,400 million kilos of tea, then followed by Kenya, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Indonesia, and a few other small countries. The largest exporters of tea are primarily Kenya, China, Sri Lanka, and India. In the last couple of years, we have seen that there is an oversupply of tea in the global market. In 2014, out of a global production of 5,200 million kilos of tea, 4,800 million kilos of tea were consumed, leaving with a surplus of 320 million kgs to be consumed. In 2018, the scenario little improved with 5,800 million kilos of production. The consumption was about 5,600, and the surplus was around 220 million kilos. The excess supply of teas have led to stagnation of prices in the global markets as well as the Indian markets. Now, there is a major shift from in the global market from tea into other beverages. So, like coffee has taken quite a lot of market share from tea, especially in markets like UK, Europe. So, coffee, other herbal beverages are a big competitor to tea now, and frankly speaking, one needs to reinvent tea in a new avatar. Coming back to the Indian tea industry, the total production, as I said, is about 1400 million kilos, and with a price of about 150 rupees per kg of tea sold at the auction. The total tea industry turnover is about 21,000 crores. Employment it generates direct and indirect is about 1.5 million workers, which is more or less assured employment. If you see, tea is quite unique in its nature. It occupies a landmass area of about 550,000 hectares to about 600,000 hectares. It has got a two-layer vegetation with the shade tree and the tea bushes. And if one, in today's context, if one sees, tea is more or less a carbon neutral industry with hardly any emission. Although proper benchmarking of the carbon neutrality has not been done, but overall, from the preliminary studies which we have seen, is that it's more or less a carbon neutral industry. So preserving the tea industry, expanding it, and is in the interest for preserving climate, as well as it generates a huge lot of employment. So on employment as well as environment factors, both necessitates a stronger industry to be sustained. So if you see the current scenario in the Indian context, out of this 1400 million kilos of tea, nearly 50% is contributed by the small tea growers, and the balance 50% is contributed from the organized tea sector, which are the large tea companies. So the small tea growers is a new phenomenon which has taken place in the last 30 years. It started off from 1987, and it has changed the entire economic scenario of the villages in Upper Assam, in Upper Assam, North Bank of Assam, in North Bengal, in South India. The per capita income of areas where small tea growers are there, it has increased manifold, and it has also led to the decrease in the extremism, or maybe the unlawful activities which was taking place during the 90s. So more and more economic development has taken place, and people have been earning a better living for their family. The Indian market and the consumption is still not as it should be. The per capita consumption of tea in India is about 750 grams per person. There was a study made by Deloitte in 2018, where they found that 64% of total Indian population drink tea. The tea is more drunk, especially in the North Indian states and the Western Indian states. Primarily, the major tea drinking states are Maharashtra, Gujarat, then Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, Delhi, and parts of Uttar Pradesh. Then the study also found that like 80% of tea is consumed with breakfast. The non-milk tea consumption is catching up very fast in India. So earlier it was more of tea with milk and sugar. Now the black tea concept is gaining more momentum. The study also found green tea and lemon tea is fast becoming popular among younger people. The tea consumption is seasonal. It increases during festive times, and the winter season also contributes much higher tea consumption. So another major development or the study which revealed was that you see a shift from the loose teas to packet teas. Earlier in India, more of loose teas were sold in the markets, but in the Deloitte study, it was found that with the rising incomes of people, 75% of the teas which were consumed within India was packet teas and branded teas. So the preference among consumers to have quality has gone up, and people are becoming very discerning about quality of tea. So but in spite of the shift from the loose tea into packet teas and the prevalence of the higher incomes, the per capita consumption of tea is not moving the way it should move ideally, because the growth pattern or the growth of tea consumption is between 2 to 3% over the last 10 to 15 years. Now, ideally, coffee is having a growth of about 5 to 6%. So tea is lagging behind in a major way. So one of the main reasons for tea lagging behind is is tea being felt as a common man's drink. It is the younger population is feeling that tea is only should be taken at home. The out of home tea consumption is not catching up that fast as it should, and the overall people find coffee more trendier, more fashionable than drinking tea, whereas the benefits of tea the outweigh than with any other beverage which are there in tea, much higher than maybe the soft drinks and the sugary drinks which are available. In the West, especially in US and Europe, there is a new phenomenon which is catching up, which is on the herbal infusions. The herbal infusions are also called as tea, but primarily it has got a very lesser amount of Camellia sinensis into it, but more of herbs like chamomile, pomegranate, so different types of herbs which are mixed for the herbal infusions. So it's a catch-22 situation. More or less, people know that tea is good, but at the same time, it is not catching up with the markets the way it should. For India, there are some great opportunities which are there. One is basically India being primarily a warm country. We need more of ready-to-drink teas to replace the colas which are prevalent now. So in China, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, the prevalence of ready-to-drink tea made from black tea and green tea is very high. Like in China and Japan, the Coca-Colas and Pepsis are more or less they are second player or a third player compared to tea. So I think a similar kind of trend we need to introduce in India, and since we have all the raw materials which are there, and if you currently see the production of tea of about 1400 million kilos, there is overproduction of about 200 million kilos which are there every year. This excess production can be diverted into production of ready to drink teas and other products which can be made out of tea. The second diversification which one can do from tea is the extraction of polyphenols, extraction of bioactives from tea. Tea as a plant has got quite a lot of natural components which are very beneficial for human health. The extraction business is a big business in China and Japan, which again in India we have not been able to push forward. So that is a second area where one can explore, and a sizable number of medium and small industry can come over with the extraction business. And the third thing is basically the use of tea for nutraceuticals, for the skincare, and for other things, for health related things which are there. Most of the current skin creams, shampoos which are made are out of teas which are from green tea extracts and all. So I think there's an opportunity to use tea leaves in that segment. What we feel is that the positioning of tea also needs to be taken a relook, because instead of tea being considered as a home drink, or maybe to be drunk only at home, it needs to be diversified, or it needs to be repositioned in a way where people can engage with the beverage much more in a much more interesting way. Like in Taiwan, there was a new concept of bubble tea, which was introduced a few years back, which has caught on very well in some of the Southeast Asian countries. Similar type of things is being tried in India, but we have a long way to go ahead actually. What Assam, with almost 52% of production of the total Indian tea production, has got a huge, like currently what is happening there is, when we see it as an oversupply situation, but if one can utilize tea into the newer segments like nutraceuticals, like extraction, like ready to drink teas, the same thing can be a win-win situation for the Assam economy as well as the economy of North Bengal. So since you all are students of business, science, engineering, there is a good prospects of getting into a business to scale up tea into these new segments. The Tea Board has also come up with schemes wherein they are going to support businesses like diversification into setting up of tea cafes, tea parlors, the newer industries like the RTD, ready to drink teas. So if anyone or any of you all are interested, I think definitely I can help out, and I can try to take things forward. Overall, currently what is happening that you see, since the prices have not gone up for the tea industry, or the overall price realization, the industry is going through tough times, because for the small tea growers, their cost of production is much lower than the organized sector tea companies, So there is a mismatch between the small tea growers, botleaf factories, which the small tea growers sell their teas through, and the organized sector gardens. So this mismatch has made tea industry into a difficult situation, but I hope that things will improve in the future. Another area is basically a lot of good research has been done on the effects of tea in containing or in boosting one's immunity as well as inhibiting viruses. There were 2 papers which was published in China and Taiwan in the month of March, which showed very promising results on inhibiting different viruses. So tea as a whole has got a lot of value, and we need to know how to extract the value out of this wonder tree, wonder leaf, and the beverage. I would like to end my talk today here. I hope that it gives you some insight of the global tea industry as well as the Indian tea industry. Overall, most of the tea growing countries are suffering because of an oversupply situation, and I hope that this is corrected in the near term. And if you all have any questions, you are most free to contact me through Boragoi sir, and I would be most happy to help you all out. Stay safe, stay at home. All the best to you all.